to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kira's show here. Now, whenever we last left off, Deku, he had just had a lot of missed calls from Inko. And he is trying to explain what held him up for so long. Explaining that he may have gotten a bit, hurt while training today, and he did actually have to go see a doctor. Which would have freaked her out a little bit. Deku basically explaining that it was fine because the doctor was somewhat of a rescue hero, as you can classify her. So it was basically instantaneous. Now, with that being said, Deku, he would get home. As Endeavor is basically thinking about this. If that boy has a good resistance to fire, then clearly he could be my successor. Someone who I can train. If Todoroki, she doesn't want to be like me. If she just keeps using half of her quirk, eventually she'll just hit a roadblock. She won't get anywhere. Endeavor's just thinking. He can train this boy to be stronger. Eventually, at one point, the two might face off. Hopefully breaking her of her little resistance. Or at least getting rid of that idea that she cannot use her fire. Now, with that, Endeavor, he would come by the beach again. The next week, since he wants to go back out on patrol. Now, with that being said, Endeavor, he would do so. And he would then see Deku is actually training with All Might. Now, All Might is trying to teach Deku how to use One for All. But Deku's having a bit of difficulty. For some reason, his body's been feeling hotter, and he's not sure why. He's actually visibly sweating, and All Might somewhat can pay attention to this. Thinking that One for All is probably doing its magic, or its work. Increasing his quirk, so his body might be trying to adjust to it. Okay. Now, he would just tell Deku to come at him, and to use his quirk. Endeavor, he would hear about this, watching as Deku would run forward, and immediately bring his hand up, as he would charge it with power. Whenever All Might sees that, he would start moving out of the way. He doesn't know how much power Deku has, but if it's enough to, even be stronger than him, he wants to make sure he's not facing the city. Now, All Might is moving towards the ocean. Endeavor watching as Deku, he would throw and let out a punch, as this would break his arm, sending All Might somewhat flying for the water, and create a large shockwave in the ocean, as Deku has broken his arm. Katsuki would run over and see if he's okay, saying that his arm is purple and somewhat mangled. As Endeavor is shocked, the boy never showed off that power. So, this is interesting. His quirk document never said he had a second quirk. Now he's fascinating to me. If the boy just didn't know about this, then clearly it's powerful. You can see why. Possibly his body may have hidden it from him. Is that possible? If you don't have the power for a quirk, you'd eventually gain it through training. As Endeavor would walk away. somewhat keeping an eye on these three as they're training. Eventually, a couple months would pass. Deku's somewhat still trying to get a hold of One for All. As Katsuki, she is training with him. Deku's mainly just started using his fire as he's actually been able to somewhat adjust more, noticing that his durability has increased. Along with the use of his quirk, he can actually go to levels he found very difficult before. Now, with that, Deku, he would begin training for the day, as he does push-ups, sit-ups, and actually does drag around an old car on a chain, at least seeing how far he can take it. Now, eventually, something different would happen, as Todoroki comes to the beach. Seeing these three, All Might would hear this limousine pull up as she would get out and walk down to the beach. A bit confused, until she would do one thing. Holding up a piece of paper, saying she's pretty sure All Might wants to see this. All Might taking it and somewhat reading it, as this is bad. Endeavor's keeping an eye on Deku, and he also does want to train him. So, this is not good. Along with Endeavor saying that the boy's second quirk seems to be impressive. All Might realizing that he may have been here. All Might would ask her exactly why is she, giving this message. She seems to not like her father, correct? Well, yes. Anyways. If I get him to start training with my dad, then it just means that he'll be off my back. Anyways, he's always wanted to train with Endeavor, right? I could just use some help with this. Her just getting more annoyed. Now, Deku, he would stop training. Him actually walking over, asking All Might exactly what's going on. All Might showing him this paper. It's a formal invitation. The invitation. So, Deku would actually be a bit confused by it. He hasn't seen Endeavor in a while, so why does he want to start training me now? Well, my guess, he sees you as powerful. You have two quirks. As Deku's eyes would somewhat widen. How does she know about that? Her just saying that it's a powerful one, right? Anyways. He wants to know exactly when you'll be able to start with him. Deku just looking at All Might. All Might would just tell Deku that it's his choice, but either way it would give him time to help his friend. And he can actually help these two. Or, as All Might would someone just say, if that would be okay. He understands that she does not like her father, as Katsuki would come running up. Not really sure what's going on. She would find out everything as she just asked Deku what is he going to do. This is something he's always wanted to do, but he's not sure if he should now. As Deku would somewhat make up his mind, saying that he wants to find out a bit more about this, as he would somewhat just leave. All Might understanding. The boy might be curious, but just because he accepts the offer doesn't mean he still can't help with One for All. As Endeavor would, find Deku. Deku is in one of his offices, or just there. Todoroki, she let Deku take the limousine, as she's there with Katsuki, somewhat meeting her. As she's annoyed. Todoroki would have tried calming her down, but these two would eventually fight. The reason being is a fiery temper and a calm one. Those two are not a good idea to put together. because eventually you just piss someone off. Now, as those two are fighting, All Might would see exactly the process or the progress that seems to be behind this girl. She doesn't use one-sided quirk. That's not a good idea. If a hero holds back, then that just means that you can't really be a very good one. It shows that you are trying to hide something from yourself. Now, meanwhile, Endeavor is meeting with Deku. Deku is actually a bit more nervous than he should be. He's not nervous around All Might because, well, he's a hero, not his idol. However, Endeavor is sort of both. Endeavor actually talking with Deku, saying that he wants to see exactly what will happen to your quirk. Now, Endeavor would face off against Deku, as he tells Deku to hurry up and fight him. Now, with that being said, these two would face off. Deku a bit more nervous, thinking should he use one for all? No, that's too much. Him just relying on his own quirk, as Endeavor would shoot fire at Deku. Deku, he doesn't want to be caught off guard, so he would bring his hands down and actually just throw them upwards, sending a wave of blue fire in his direction, as the two would clash. Deku, he's actually holding his own against Endeavor for a second, as Endeavor begins to increase his heat. Eventually, Endeavor would have won after a long, drawn-out fight, but he does see the progress Deku has made, as he would just say that if he cannot have, well, his daughter, use both her quirks, then he will teach him how to. Endeavor is someone wanting to put Deku on a rigorous training process, and someone asking questions about his second quirk, since it seems to be random or out of nowhere. Now then, with that being said, Deku would have eventually left and not accept Endeavor's offer, saying that he wants to somewhat just train with All Might. Even then, he does want to train with his friend also. Endeavor somewhat being annoyed. The boy doesn't really see himself as one of the best, so he just wants to be a hero. That's not right. There must be another motive. Endeavor searching for something, as Deku would have left. Endeavor, he just left standing there for a second, a bit annoyed. Doing one thing, turning off his fire, and walking over to a desk, pulling out an old family photo of him and his kids, along with Ray. Those days were better then. Even then. He's just worried. If someone has a quirk similar to Toya's, then clearly they need help. Now, back over at the beach. Todoroki, she would somewhat accept an offer All Might has given her, saying that she must be going through the recommendations, correct? Her is basically explaining she is. Now, as that's being said, she would basically start training with All Might instead of just training alone. Seeing that this is a lot better, actually. She seems to be able to get more or less live combat experience, along with actually being able to stretch her quirk, or at least stretch her legs. As Katsuki and, well, Bakugo, or Katsuki and Todoroki, these two would just keep fighting. Eventually, Deku would have came back and explained what's going on, as eventually they would have gone home. Now, the rest of the 4 months, or I believe 3, would somewhat go similar, or at least differently. Oh, I gotta see that later. Anyways. Now, what I mean by differently is that whenever they are all training and, well, eventually Getting up to a certain point, Deku would have been able to start learning more about One For All. Somewhat beginning to use it properly. During one of his fights, he accidentally turned it onto a low point, and was able to at least throw around enough force with his quirk. However, he put his quirk on a medium setting. Whenever he used One For All with it, he sort of just burned his arm. Now, eventually it healed, but Deku would have been refraining from using these two quirks simultaneously, as he would have discovered a lower level of full cowling. He is not really sure how he should use it with his quirk, but he would just switch off from the two. He can use full cowling at about 10 to around 15%. And with his quirk, if he wants to use full cowling, he believes he should only bring it up to about 2%. He can get a small speed boost and also use his quirk without damaging his body too much. Now, Katsuki, she has been able to work more and more on this control, as All Might would explain to them for the last week that he is aware that she is taking the recommendations, correct, young Todoroki? Well, not anymore. What? Well, my dad, he wants to hand out a recommendation to me. I'm not taking it. I've actually seen how these two are training, and I'm somewhat interested in this. If I get in the UA without my dad's help, then that just means I might be a better hero than him. Deku's somewhat seeing this. That sounds good and all, yes, but recommendations, you basically do go through the same process, right? As she would just somewhat tell Deku no. That's kind of not how it works from what she's heard or, well, at least seen about him. Now, with that, they would leave. Todoroki, she's gotten better control over her ice, and has been able to actually increase the level she can use it at. She doesn't, well, freeze over as much anymore than whenever she began training. Now, they would all be walking into UA. People somewhat staring at these three. They are all in similar workout clothes. Deku wearing a, well, dark blue tracksuit. Katsuki, she's wearing a red one. And Todoroki, she's just wearing a, well, I would say she wears a white tracksuit, but I could see her being more of a, I would say that she would wear possibly a yellow one, only because it's not Endeavor's color. Red and blue, those are his colors, so she doesn't want to, well, be seen like that. Now, eventually they would have all walked in. Deku, he would sit down, and so would Katsuki. These two getting ready. Deku does actually have to, or well, has updated his quirk documents, as he's trying to think of a name for One For All instead. Now, Deku would write down his quirk, Cremation. Then One For All. What should he call it? As Katsuki is somewhat staring at him. Deku can't really think, and it's a bit hard to come up with this. Her doing one thing. Pulling his paper in front of her and immediately writing something down. As she would slide it back over to him. Deku somewhat looking at her annoyed, as she would somewhat just smirk at him. Deku looking down at it. Superpower. Well, I mean, that works. Deku just going over everything else. So, this will be different. Now, with everything going on, Deku, he's been able to actually train properly and... what the heck? Train properly and actually get things sorted out. However, since he's been focusing on his quirk, he won't score as high in the entrance exam's written test. I want to say he would score underneath Bakugo, or at least smaller than Katsuki. She spends a bit of time actually studying. Deku spends most of his time actually training. Now, the two have actually been talking, but other than that, they wouldn't really learn a lot from each other. She does try and get Deku to study with her, but Deku usually just stays up late and just reads horror stories. Now, with that, Deku would score, I want to say, I believe Momo was in first, then Todoroki, and then Bakugo, so let's say Deku scored 5th or 6th, actually. Now, this is whenever the combat portion would begin, as they would get ready. Deku's actually stretching and waiting for things to happen, as he would just start walking forward. Ida's somewhat getting in his way, saying that he cannot allow him to talk to that girl. Wait, what girl? That girl over there. The one with the one with the half hair thing, or the one with the brown hair next to her? Huh? Wait, you don't know them? Oh no, I know one of them. As Deku would somewhat just throw his hand up in front of Ida's face, saying, boom, you're dead. Walking past him, saying that if he really wanted to, he could fry him on the spot. So anyways, just please don't get in my way. Otherwise, this will actually hurt a lot. Really now. You're just being arrogant. No, actually, I'm not. Deku's someone just pulling up his sleeve. Ida seeing a burn scar. That's a nasty one. Ida somewhat staring at him as Deku would just pull it down. Walking forward, he would go over to Todoroki, asking her if she's nervous. Not really nervous, more or less just waiting. Okay. So, you want to team up for anything, or I can handle this on my own? Okay. Jeez. You're a bit rough around the edges, you know that? Well, I'm just going to use my power to get an EUA, not his. Your power. Yeah. I'm not using his fire. That's not his fire, that's yours. As she would somewhat just look at Deku for a second. Her being a bit confused at what he said as Deku would run forward. People behind her immediately just trying to shuffle past her. She wasn't really paying attention. She just heard that one thing. It's not Endeavor's fire. What does that mean? Now, eventually, Deku would be running around. He's running at 15% of full cowling as Ida is just staring at him. Anytime Ida runs past him, he can clearly see that his quirk is different. Blue electricity. That's weird. As Deku would slow down. Ida would see as Deku would just bring his hand up in front of a robot and immediately just spark full of blue fire. As the robot basically melts in place. Deku would then turn and smash into it with 15% of One For All. As he pulls out the power source, and begins to run around more. Ida is somewhat confused and shocked. This guy has 2 quirks. One of them he quite literally just showed off. So, exactly what are you? A prodigy? No. Ida is still staring at Deku. As Deku would turn, throwing the power source directly in front of quite a lot of other robots. Him then smashing his hands down into the ground, and someone just throwing them upwards, creating a tidal wave of fire. People watching as Deku actually does begin to feed the flame, and burn a lot brighter. As he takes down a lot of robots. Now, Todoroki, she's blasting ice around and basically staying away from Deku. If she's too close to him, then she gets dehydrated and she cannot use her quirk. So this is bad. The two can't really work together like this. Eventually, it would get to the point where the 0-pointer would arrive. Deku actually looking at it. He would think that if he can take that thing down, that would make quite a story. Oh well, no use in trying. Him actually turning to run. Before he hears a girl screaming. As that happens, he would turn to see someone in the distance. All he can see is their hand or something at least moving. As he would run forward, turning on One for All to 35%. He doesn't realize it real quick, or at least not right now, but he is pushing his body to its maximum physical limits. Running forward and actually being able to throw the rubble out of the way off the girl's, body. As he would have picked her up. And the 0-pointer's leg is directly above them. As Deku would see it coming down. Oh crap. As he would do one thing. He would somewhat just tell Uraka to get away from him, as he would just push her backwards. As he throws his hands up as high as possible. With a 100%, and trying to use his fire at the same time. As people can feel a large shockwave and then an inferno appear. There is basically a tornado tearing into the 0-pointer. And it's made of pure heat. So, that's insane, right? That guy's quirk is... what? He can change the weather, do all this crap, make a tornado? Fire? People would somewhat just staring. As chunks of molten metal begin to fly around the city. People actually needing to get away more. Now, eventually, Deku would have stopped this, as he's basically just standing there, most of his, upper torso burned, and his shirt is missing. His shirt was fireproof, but apparently the force of that punch tore it apart. Now, as he's standing there, he begins to somewhat try and move, as he winces in pain, bringing his other hand up to his arm. Looking down. That is not good. He has an entire burn that runs across his fingertips, all the way up to his forearm. Although, he thinks it might also be broken. So that's not a good combination. Now, Uraka would have said thank you, as she tries to stand up, not being able to do so. Deku holding out his other arm, helping her to her feet. Now, as that happens, Deku, he is actually sweating quite a bit. Her seeing him hyperventilate. As Todoroki would have walked over, or at least ran over, asking him if he's okay. And exactly what was that? That was full power. As he would just ask her one simple thing. If she can cover his hand in ice, that would really help him a lot. Her just saying okay, doing so. As soon as she touches Deku's arm, it basically somewhat burns her hand. Until she basically just hovers it over and covers it with ice. Deku really appreciating that. Recovery Girl would walk over, saying that if she sees him again, it'll be too soon. Anyways, kid, you need to know how this works. Her walking over. She would just basically plant a kiss on Deku's hand and heal it. As there is a bit of a new scar pattern across his fingertips. So, that at least helped. Now, Deku, he would get an EUA. But before I do continue, that is where I need to leave off. Anyway guys, I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. And I'll catch you guys later.